Hey guys, we're down in sunny southern Utah with the brand new E-Ride 3.0, and today is all about riding impressions. We're going to see what this bike is like compared to the 2.0s that we've been riding all year, and we're going to answer some questions that people asked in our last video. How's the range? How's the throttle control? How are the brakes? Overall, just how does the bike feel? So one other question that was asked a lot was, how does it compare to other bikes in the market? And we will get there. Today we're going to focus on just the 3.0, but if you have not seen the specs of this bike, go back to our previous video where we cover absolutely everything about it. The basics that most people want to know: new wheels, new suspension, new brakes, bigger battery, more power. But now it's all to see how that came together as a package. We're going to let you know what we think about this brand new 3.0. And stick around to the end of the video because we're going to do a range test today so that you can see what you'll be able to get out of the 72 volt 50 amp hour battery.
Alright, we are ready to do an 1/8 mile run on the E-Ride Pro 3.0. So I'm going to go ahead and start this. I'm going to do this multiple times, make sure that I get the most consistent one. Let's go ahead and do this. In 3, 2, 1, go. So that was a slightly downhill run, and we'll go the opposite direction, which is a slight uphill. So much power.
That was a lot of spin.
Yeah, you walked away from me when you got traction though. Yeah, crazy line, man. All right, first ride, E-Ride Pro SS 3.0. I'm excited to try it. Normally I would get out and just go pretty much all out on a bike, but got a group with me right now. I want to try to keep relatively good pace, make sure everybody's on the same page, taking the same lines. But I will say right off the bat, the suspension is super, like, lush in a good way. It's in a good part of its travel the whole time and it's supportive, but it's actually plush. Like, this feels a lot like a tuned fast ace. There's a straightaway later on in this trail where I'll really be able to feel how much power this bike has. And if I'm lucky, when I look down at the screen, I might be able to get a speed out of it. And the tires on this bike, it's actually been a while since I've ridden Shinkos. This is E-Ride Pro's version of the Shinko 241. And I gotta say, I was not expecting it to be as good out here as it is right now. Like, I am crawling up things. Like, that ripped up that just barely. So far the traction that I have out of this is just absolutely insane. And this bike is so fast. And the suspension feels really good right off the bat. Especially out here in the desert, it is just taking it. You know, I wasn't actually sure that I was gonna like this bike that much. On paper it looked great, but it's always so tough to say. Now that I'm actually on the bike though, oh my gosh, it feels good. And these brakes, they feel so good. Suspension felt great off of that. I did just bottom out the rear shock though, which I wasn't expecting, but the front end felt awesome. So I could just put some more compression in the rear, which I'll actually do here shortly. But all of this trail rocky stuff, the suspension is working awesome. That is actually really good for out of the box suspension. I'm really surprised. So let's go ahead and just add in a little bit of a compression. All good.
Oh man,
That's,
I hope your suspension on the 3.0 is a little better than this, because I think I'm getting beaten to death.
I was actually just raving about how good the suspension does feel. I'm surprised, dude. It's like actually taking everything on these trails. Right up here is a straightaway that is so fast. And on just about every bike, except for my fully modded bike, I've been able to hit it full pin. This one, this is the straight right here. So it'll curve right and it'll go. And make sure that when you kind of don't see the trail anymore, hit the brakes, because there's a cliff.
Are you just going off of the indicated?
That's what I'm going to try to do, is I'm going to try to look down and hope.
Yep.
We've already done an official drag run, but this is off-road in a short span, so let's try it. Alright, get going, bike. Holy! Oh my god! Oh, that was... Oh! Dude! This thing moves. This thing moves. Now it gets really whoopy up here, so this is a good suspension test zone. Yeah, this bike feels so solid. And I don't really feel like there's a ton of rattling going on underneath me either. Just feel the suspension working. Feel the brakes really working. The power's strong for 16 kilowatts. And it's super manageable. Alright, so far, I'm actually really stoked on this bike. It's like immediately comfortable. I'm really impressed what E-Ride did. I'm not going to give you any like pre-indications.
Okay. Yep.
But, yeah, dude, hop on that thing.
Okay. Well, hey, since we have stopped, we've got all 4 bikes here. Oh, 80%. Okay, we've gone 5.16 miles. MX5 is at 80%. 2.0 is at 85%. 3.0.
81%.
Yeah, lead foot over here. You're giving a little bit of throttle.
I'm at 79.5 volts.
Okay, we'll do the conversion. 79 volts.
Now, me and Nate are going to switch bikes because, like he said, I've got a little bit of a lead wrist. So we'll switch. He'll ride this, then we'll see what the range between these two really ends up at.
Solid plan. All right. First time on the 3.0. Okay, the suspension feels really good by comparison. Coming straight off of that 2.0, oh, it's so much more solid. Now I should say, I don't know how potentially clapped out that 2.0 is. It does not have many miles on it. It's obviously just stock. Oh, I'm not sure if I'm going the right way. I'm just gonna commit. Well, that worked. Okay, so we got some whoops, but the suspension's handling it really well. I think I'm gonna go on a limb here and say people are really gonna like this fast ace. It feels really good. Okay, so my video should be the exact opposite of Brett's. I just came from a stock 2.0 to the 3.0. Everything is better. Everything. Ergonomics, suspension, power, brakes.
You know, I feel like a major difference between these two bikes is this bike, I crack the throttle wide open a lot.
Yeah.
That one, I almost never do.
Agreed. I've only gotten to full throttle like twice since I got on it. Now, I feel like we probably should have said, since I'm at 73, you're at 77, it's kind of logical that the more power you use, the more battery you're going to use.
Very true.
So that's why we're trying to go the same speed, but I think it's easy to admit we've both also kind of
ride very different.
Been riding quite a bit faster on this bike as well.
That's also why we're taking and splitting this trail into even sections.
A little bit of an average.
Yeah.
Yep, that's a good idea. Oh man, the torque is insane. I think that was a rock getting thrown up into the controller, guys. I'm not sure. I don't think I just bottomed out, but I'm not sure what that sound was. Everything's still riding like normal. Okay, the tire is rubbing something. Oh, it's my brake cable. I'm going to show that to Brett before he's going to come around that turn pretty fast. I'm getting a little bit of noise. Check out my front brake cable. Don't you love that?
Oh, no.
I know.
I hate guides, dude.
I'll just deal with it. I mean, it just did it for the first time. I just wish it would bend out instead of in.
You know what your bike has that mine doesn't?
Brake cable on the inside of the fork like it's supposed to be?
And reverse.
Oh, yeah. Reversing up a hill. Yeah. Okay, so just the brake cable. Rubbing, that's what that noise was. So now that it started bending in, it's going to be kinked that direction from now on. It's a really shitty problem. I hate it. So what we'll do, guys, is we will get a wrench, loosen this up, take it out a little bit so the angle's over here, and hope that that helps. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that might do a little bit.
We're at 8.4 miles.
8.4?
Yep.
Okay, I'm at 70% on the 3.0.
I'm at 73% on the 2.0.
73% 2.0.
77.2 volts.
Volts?
Okay, 77.2 volts.
66.
66%. Okay. Well, now I'm going to talk about the throttle control because, this bike will actually just absolutely move when I want it to. But in those really tight sections where I'm being a little bit careful with these tires because it's really sandy, or like it's like a powder, I can control the throttle really, really easily. All right, get your reaction of how that feels in eco mode. I think you know what? I'm not going to say anything. You do your own video.
Sounds good. Eco mode testing on the eRide Pro 3.0. You know, it feels pretty mellow. It just feels like super smooth powered, but it feels like I could put my girlfriend on eco mode and she would be okay on this bike, which I would never put her on this bike in sport mode, so I'm glad that it actually gives her that ability. And it's topping out. It tops out at 25 miles per hour. That's crazy that they topped eco mode and on sport mode let you have all the beans. Like I'm topped out right now at 25.
That eco mode doesn't just turn down power. It feels like it's like an active limiter. So like, you know, when in a car, like you can hear it and feel it hit the rev limiter, that's what it's doing. So you can kind of hold it wide open and just let it rip. How's that feel?
That is crazy that eco
Yeah.
mode, I could put my girlfriend on this bike.
Yep.
I would never put her on a 16 kilowatt bike ever.
Agreed.
But this tops out at 25 miles per hour in eco mode and just like
I was holding it wide open
it
when we
relaxes
were
it.
riding.
Yeah, it makes this whole bike to where you can put a beginner on it.
It's exactly how eco mode should be.
Right. That's pretty crazy. Like, I really like that aspect of it. And I was so surprised when I flicked it back to sport.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh, this thing
Completely different bike.
completely different.
Yep.
What's the range?
All right, guys, let's do a quick range check. 10.25 miles.
This is our halfway point at 10.25.
Okay, 10.25. I am at 67% on the stock 2.0.
67 on the stock 2.0. 63 on the stock 3.0. 59 on the stock-ish, stock with wheels Teleria MX5. 76.5 volts and 4 out of 5 bars. 76.5 volts on the modified 2.0, pushing 15 kilowatts. Sick. I don't want to bore you guys with a long trail ride, so we're just going to zip back to the trailer. But look at that view. Look at that view. Pretty good view there. I'm just kidding. All right, we went
20.22 miles.
We went 20.22 miles. All four of us switched bikes at the same points. All four of us rode all four bikes. The Teleria MX5, after
20.22 miles.
20.22 miles, landed at 9% battery.
Dang.
E-Ride Pro 2.0 that is upgraded.
69.7 volts.
69.7 volts. E-Ride Pro 3.0, 33%. That is significantly better than the MX5. And then the E-Ride Pro 2.0 that is bone stock, 36%.
Wow.
So this bike, even though the battery is smaller, it is lighter and it produces less power.
Yep.
So again,
Interesting.
the 2.0 stock, 36, the 3.0, 33, a lot more power, bit more weight, less power, less weight, smaller battery. That bike still did better.
Anyway, good test.
Solid
Now
test.
we know.
So there you have it, our first ride on the 3.0. We got multiple impressions from both Brett and myself, swapping from the stock 2.0 over to the new 3.0. And I think the upgrades or benefits of the new bike are obvious. Better suspension, better brakes, better power. Everything felt stronger. And I love that they've beefed up the powertrain basically. For all of the wheelie crowd out there, you're gonna absolutely love it. Just on demand, you can blip the throttle, pick up the front end at any point. Rear brake is amazing, so you'll have really good control. Speaking of control, the throttle was really surprising because I kind of expected 16 kilowatts to feel like too much power. It's really good power delivery, really smooth. So you're really gonna like that. And for the more street going crowd, tennis shoe wearing, folks are really gonna love these foot pegs. They're really wide platforms. So, you know, they just feel good underneath your foot. They were a little wide for me personally, like with my motocross boots on, but I love how stable of a platform that they are. The suspension was phenomenal, especially the front forks. This does feel a little bit like a tuned Fast-Ace, has upgraded seals in it, and the clickers really made a big difference as we were adjusting the fork out on the trail. Now, part of the video was talking about the front brake cable. This is not new. It's something we've seen from almost all the bikes that we test. You've already seen us take off the cable guide in many of the other bikes that we do, and that's simply because this front guide, again, that's taken off of this bike, the hole that the cable would normally go through is about the same size, so the cable can't just move freely through that guide. And what happens is if you compress the forks too fast, if it can't move through the guide fast enough, then it kinks. So that was obviously a problem on the trail. That's what you heard with my front tire rubbing. Once it kind of kinked in, there was no stopping it. The cable was already bent. So again, we just took the cable guide off. Not really a big deal. One other thing that's probably worth noting on this bike out of the box, you notice that the brake cable is routed on the outside of the fork guard. That's not really the proper technique. Normally the cable would route from the inside of the fork leg, so it bends out naturally. That's something we would do to our personal bike. Hard to say if all the other bikes are going to come with the cable on the inside or outside, but as a best practice, route your cable from the inside of your fork leg and have it go out. Everything else about the bike was a natural progression just like we expected. Everything feels upgraded. My initial thoughts coming in were I hope they keep the 2.0 because I love how lightweight and flickable the fun nature of that bike. This bike is everything that bike has and more. I was a little worried about the additional weight with this bike coming in over 160 pounds. I couldn't feel it at all, and the weight that I could feel is kind of a benefit from all the added strength. The last thing I wanted to talk about was the range test. Not very scientific, but we tried to do the best we could where all 4 bikes you saw in the video rode the exact same distance. We swapped riders several times throughout the bikes so that if Brett was riding incredibly fast on one bike, a slower rider would be on the bike next, and then they would average themselves out. So it's not terribly surprising that the 3.0 got slightly less range than the 2.0. I don't think you're going to get those same results. What I really think was happening there is everyone that got on the 3.0 was so excited with it being a faster bike that we were just on the throttle more than the other bikes. It doesn't always come through in video, but we were moving at really good speeds on that trail. So 20 miles of range is not terribly realistic. You might actually get closer to 35 or 40, who knows, if you're out just doing a normal trail ride. Lastly, yes, you did see a couple more bikes in the background. We rode the brand new 3.0. Absolutely everybody that rode it loved it. We rode it against a stock 2.0 for a comparison. There was also an MX-5 and a modified 2.0 in the background. Stay tuned for our next video because we're going to do a further breakdown of how this bike compares against the MX-5 and how it compares against a modified 2.0 with EBMX X9000 controller on it. So a lot more content coming, but my key takeaway for this bike, obviously better than the 2.0 at almost everything. I think it's well worth the $600 additional price tag going from a 2.0 to the 3.0. If you've been considering this bike, I got 2 thumbs up for it. I loved it. I think you will too.